Welcome to Modern Anarchy, the podcast exploring sex, relationships, and liberation. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole.
I tried to keep her quiet, but she's screaming inside of me. I tried to keep her hiding, oh, shut up. I tried to keep her quiet, but she's a wild, wild woman.
On today's episode, we have Ken. Join us for a conversation all about the mistakes that were made along the way. Together, we talk about releasing shame through conversation, coming out as polyamorous to your kids, and what makes the difficulty of non-monogamy worthwhile. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to Modern Anarchy. I'm so delighted that you are here and joining all of the pleasure activists who are tuning in each Wednesday. My name is Dr. Nicole. I'm a sex and relationship psychotherapist providing psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, author of the Psychedelic Jealousy Guide and the first study on relationship anarchy, and I teach students from around the world how to craft pleasurable sex lives and non-monogamous relationships. Dear listener, you are in for such a treat today with Ken. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have had 2 episodes with Ken's partner, Dr. Jolie Hamilton, also my mentor and someone that I adore dearly. If you want to check out Dr. Jolie's most recent episode, I highly recommend it because she also talks about her relationship with Ken, and you'll have even more context to the dynamics that we're getting into today. And I'm just so grateful that Ken came in with such vulnerability, right? The mistakes that were made along the way. We have all made mistakes in non-monogamy, right? It is a growth journey, the paradigm shift. There's so many things that we walk into, that we learn along the way. And so I'm so grateful to bring intelligent, thoughtful people like Ken into this space because there's just so much wisdom here, right? If we can learn from the mistakes that other people have made, the mistakes that I have made, the mistakes that people in your community have made, we'll be in a much better place to really handle this paradigm shift and get into pleasurable non-monogamy. Y'all, my Pleasure Liberation non-monogamy group starts this Friday. I'm so excited for all of you who are signed up. What a strong, powerful cohort this year. Okay. So excited to start this Friday with all of you. And dear listener, if you're interested, next time we'll do this is in August of 2027. So, and polyamory parenting. And by the way, I have much more on this coming out in the fall with my video series, dear listener. I'm switching to video in November. Just a little teaser. Remember, it's coming out. I'm so excited for all the episodes that are coming your way, dear listener, and so excited for you to learn from the amazing, the thoughtful, the intelligent Ken Hamilton today. All right, dear listener, if you are ready to liberate your pleasure, I have so many free resources on my website. I have my Psychedelic Jealousy Guide for free, my dissertation on relationship anarchy. I have worksheets and tools and so many other resources because free resources are important for liberation and our community's growth. All of that is at modernanarchypodcast.com. That's also where you'll learn about my groups and all my offerings and all of that beautiful stuff that I do all the time. And also, I want to say the biggest thank you to my Patreon community. Thank you. You've been supporting me for the last 5 years to be making this educational content, and I couldn't do it without you. So my heart goes out to you with so much gratitude. And with that, dear listener, please know that I'm sending you all my love, and let's tune in to today's episode. First question that I love to ask each guest on the show is, how would you introduce yourself to the listeners?
I'm Ken Hamilton. I'm the co-host of the Playing with Fire podcast and a co-teacher in the Year of Opening with Dr. Jolie Hamilton, which is a fantastic year-long journey of learning how to relate well and deeply. And I say it with such satisfaction because I've learned so much from all of the people who have gone through it, as well as from Jolie and just being part of it. And I've
Mm.
loved it. And so that brings me here because you and I have had conversations on the podcast, and that's been a blast. So yeah, that's me. That's one facet of me anyway.
Yeah, so delighted to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining me and Fat Cat, who happens to be here right by the microphone. Such a joy to have you on the show today.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And for all of the listeners, there's also the episode with Dr. Jolie, which will have come out around February time. So you can scroll back. And there's also an episode with her way back in the beginning, many years ago. So you can have
Hmm.
those episodes and get more context because she does talk about you in the episode. So for
Oh
the
yeah, I'm
listeners.
a topic of conversation throughout,
Uh-huh.
and that's, I think, suitable. I'm both an
Yeah.
object lesson in various ways, and including of somebody who has really grown so much in this space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to hear your story too, because the two of you get to play such a role of what people can look to in terms of open relationships and non-monogamy and what's possible, right? So that you're playing a really crucial role when you're facilitating that and the way that you speak to that experience so publicly on the podcast, right? And so it creates more worlds of possibility when they see other people like you
Yeah.
who are out so publicly about it.
And it's a, we live in a world of such, there are so many personas, there are so many layers. There's the Instagram version of people,
Yeah.
and it's like who are they really? And Jolie and I we don't edit, we don't sugarcoat, and I don't think we've ever recorded anything that we didn't eventually publish. So what people have heard about me is accurate to the extent that I know
Yeah.
myself. That's what I'm tossing out in the world, and we have had some experiences of people not understanding that
Mm,
no, this is accurate. When we say that what we're doing is working for us, we mean it, because we've pointed out to people, so here's what we do, and here's how we've gotten to where we are, and oh, we're so happy, and we
hmm.
are so
Yeah.
happy together. And people don't always believe it.
Yeah.
They assume that it's just one more painted picture
Mm,
rather than an accurate portrayal. But well, just keep saying it. And the thing is, the more people who reach toward the kinds of things that we talk about and that I talk about, the more they'll find out, oh no, it does work.
yeah,
You could get there.
absolutely. Absolutely. And
And
so
I
I
know that's
want,
all very abstract and not very practical, but I've just uh, the transition from being essentially living a more or less unexamined life, and then learning all the reasons why I should look at my life from an external point of view, and all the benefits to digging into who I actually am. That journey has been stunning. I'm nothing like the person I was 20 or even 10 years ago. It's
oh yeah.
so that's who
Yeah.
comes here today,
Oh,
a work in progress.
welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
I really want to hold this space for you to share your story fully, to take the time to tell us the different layers, starting all the way from where you came from, the scripts around sexuality and relationships
Hmm.
that you grew up with, and your culture, your family dynamics, all of that. Where does this journey begin for you?
I guess the journey for me, um, both the sexual and relational foundations for me were very, very similar in that nobody talked about them.
Mm,
In my family of
yeah.
origin, my parents and my siblings, it was not a topic of conversation with me at the very least. I was the youngest, so I
Mm,
wasn't always privy to what was going on between my parents, which was mostly my mother. My father was, I mean, he was a very standard 50s kind of dad in the 70s.
sure.
So um, he was a role model of isolation and separateness
Mm,
rather than relationality and connection. And
Yeah.
with that combined with my experience of what my mother would talk about. And it wasn't that I would go to her with topics. If I brought her a topic, she would talk to me, but she didn't raise the topics herself.
Mm,
There was no conversation about masturbation
mm,
or even really sex. I don't believe I ever had the sex talk, but I was given a set of medical books to look through. My mother was a nurse, and so there were medical books
mm.
around, and some of them were like popularized things. There was a set of books. It's like I am Joe's spleen and I am
Ah,
Jane's um,
ah,
uterus and stuff like that. And
sure.
so I learned about anatomy that way, but obviously nothing about sex.
Mm,
And then sex education in the 70s was, I mean, I don't know, doesn't seem like it's all that different everywhere now, but it was not very helpful.
yeah.
My point being in all of that since no one would have the conversations, no one started the conversations with me. And my particular personality, I didn't push a lot. So I didn't ask the questions. And I concluded that since no one was talking about it, it must be bad.
Mm,
Because there was so much silence, there must be shame.
sure.
And I just internalized that, ingested that completely, and just felt bad about. I felt bad every time I masturbated. Thought I
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to, did anyway.
Right.
But then felt bad about it and felt
Mm-hmm.
like I had failed something, somebody,
Mm,
somewhere. And that didn't change till I was in my 40s,
wow.
somewhere, late 40s. That hung on. Anyway, so and that was true about relationships too. I remember there was um there was a girl I liked, and I mean, I don't even know what my mother would have done if I told her there was a boy I liked. I
Right.
never broached that topic. And to the point where, again, it wasn't until my 40s, it's like, wait a minute, I'm bi.
Yeah.
I'm not straight. Hang on.
Yep.
Because it wouldn't have occurred to me. Like, that's for other people. Again, that model of isolation from my father and the outsiderness. It's like, well, I couldn't possibly be part of any of the groups. So I guess I couldn't be bi.
Mm,
That's a group. I'm not part of
right.
groups.
Mm,
Uh, but when when I started my relationship with Jolie, she believes that everything is talk aboutable.
mm,
So we talked about everything,
mm,
and it was a transition period for sure, but it was such a relief that even though there were so many places where shame or guilt or confusion because I hadn't had the conversation, so I didn't even know what I didn't know.
mm-hmm.
All of those things were there, but for me, they were balanced by, "Oh, I can talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
Holy crap." And that opened up. I mean, I talk about not examining my life. Yeah, right, because it just felt horrible. Like,
Mm,
oh no, I don't belong anywhere.
mm,
There's, and then the confusing messages of there's sex, which is bad, and so I should stay away from people so that I don't have sex with them or whatever. But
mm.
then there's pornography everywhere, which I have no problem with, but when it's presented as the example, and then also when it's presented as, yeah, but you should be buying and consuming this, even though sex is bad, you should be doing this. Such
Right.
confusion. And
Right.
then so there is my family of origin and the messages and lack of messages from there. And it was easy to stay with people through my life who didn't talk about things. And that I believe strongly. I know that there were people who tried to reach me, but
Mm,
I was so defended
yeah.
that I wouldn't. And then Okay, I do want to make this disclaimer for my parents. God knows what they tried to talk to me about, because
Yeah.
I'm sure I didn't listen to everything.
Yeah, fair.
But then I started my relationship with Jolie, who just was such a strong force in
Mm,
who are you? Who are you really?
yeah.
No, no, the stuff that you don't think anybody's gonna like. Who's that?
Mm,
And having someone accept that opened so many doors for me.
hmm.
And in terms of my non-monogamy journey, that was baked into me from the beginning for whatever
Mm,
reason.
great.
Um, I didn't do a lot with it because, again, isolation,
Right.
but I believed in multiple relationships sounded kind of redundant. Like we're all in multiple relationships all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so where does this end? This ends, well, today, where
Mm,
I am now practiced at talking about sex, practiced at talking about relationships, practiced at examining my place of privilege and working to notice when I'm acting from entitlement and try not to be an unexamined, in particular, white male in
mm-hmm.
this world right now, because that's a very dangerous role to take.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lens into me.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'm excited to go deeper into these pieces and
Absolutely.
really, yeah, hear more about it. For context, I'm curious, how old were you when you met Dr. Jolie? I guess I should say Jolie, right? You probably met her.
We
Or
can just
Winnie,
call her
like,
Joe.
was
I
she
don't.
already a doctor? Where are we at? Like,
Oh, jeepers. Okay, time is not my best strong suit, so I have to do math. Let's see.
mm,
I started my relationship with her. Again, there's that word relationship. I started a romantic relationship,
mm-hmm.
which don't try looking up the word romance, by the way, because it just says, romance. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
It's just a
obviously.
circular set of definitions of words that mean other words, and none of them have
Uh-huh.
definitions. But when we started to really say, oh, I think I want to spend a lot of time with that person, we started to notice that was 16 years ago.
Okay.
But I've known her literally her whole life because
Mm,
um, she's the cousin of my best friend
mm.
that I knew
Oh.
when I was a kid. And so I wasn't there when she was born, but I was around the family when she was born. And I was
Mm,
around while she was growing up. And then um, she had kids about the same time I did in separate relationships.
mm.
And then in 2009, we started to, we tried to do polyamory, non-monogamy. I don't know. There was so little, there were so few resources that we didn't know what the
Right.
hell we were doing at
Yep.
all. And we broke a lot of stuff. And my participation in that system is part of what let me realize uh, how badly my unexamined life was impacting the people around me
Mm,
with, oh, yeah. Oh, that guy didn't know anything. And he hurt
yeah.
people constantly
Mm,
by misuse of power that he denied.
mm.
Like, I don't have any power. I'm just this like this little brother who everybody told me to get out of their way, and then I
Sure.
grew up, and like I don't really have agency. I can't make stuff happen. But
Mm,
again, middle-aged white guy
yeah.
have all the power I ever wanted, and so all this unexamined, unacknowledged power would just come
Mm-hmm.
out sideways at people all over the place,
Mm,
and I got tired of hurting people, and
mm.
so I started working on that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been about 50 years that we've known
Wow.
each other,
Wow. Beautiful.
almost, and about 16 that we completely threw
Mm,
our lot in with each other.
mm,
But again, it's been like 25 since we started overlapping with parenting and all that.
mm-hmm. 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 And so there was a chapter of exploring more of the traditional relationship escalator or monogamy or the first relationship or marriage or
Oh, in
in
my
between.
yeah,
Yeah.
so in my first marriage, yeah, I my relationships were monogamous, more or less.
Hmm.
There were a couple of times when so I had a girlfriend and she was long distance and we at least what I considered long distance, she lived like an hour and a half away. And
Okay.
at some point, she cheated on me. I can't even remember what she did anymore. I think it was just
Mm,
kissing, honestly.
mm.
It could have been more. I really don't know.
Sure.
But I don't remember anymore because it didn't like I remember it mattering in the moment, but that mattering was so energized by all the messages. And when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I have this flash of jealousy, of this sense of something having gone wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it was exactly. So that relationship survived that just fine. And then,
Mm,
at least from my side. And there
hmm.
were a couple times, at least one other time, that I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if there were like more, if we could have more than one relationship? And the person I was talking to was like, yeah, but we can't. Oh, all right, I said, and then just turn along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then my first marriage uh, was traditionally monogamous. No, no, that's a lie. It really wasn't. Before we even got married, we were already having sex with other people, like in a group.
Hmm. Hmm.
So not traditionally
Yeah.
monogamous, not
Yeah.
rigidly monogamous. And then after a time that transformed and it became her having sex with the person she had been having sex with. And I was just like stepped out of the situation.
Sure.
And this was all, I wouldn't say talked about. It was all known. Like she and I talked enough about it to say, is this okay? Yeah, it's okay. But we never actually talked about
Mm,
what it was beyond okay. Like what impacts does this have?
sure.
How is it working day to day? And how do we all feel about it? And now we just did it. And that went on for years
Mm,
and then ended through external forces.
okay.
The context of the relationship that she was in changed and that well, honestly, at that point, it's not really any more my business of exactly what happened over there.
Yeah.
But our relationship as it continued on as it was, and then came the time when we all got involved with Jolie, and so that was very explicitly a non-monogamous experience that we were building, and like I said, with no background, with no
Mm,
resources, with no critical thinking really applied
yeah.
to it. It was quite a disaster. Not universally, but again, a lot of bruises, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And then both Jolie and I got divorced, and then a couple of years later, she and I got married, which we still talk about. It's like, why
Mm.
did we get married again? And the thing is, because it is economically and systemically advantageous.
Right. Yeah.
There are things, and we saw it when we each got divorced. We saw the impact that being divorced had on our treatment in various systems,
Sure.
from healthcare to educational systems, and it's just simpler to be married, and then people don't ask questions,
Right.
basically. Um,
Right.
So which leads us to the yeah, and then the years of actually trying to build relationships that worked for us
Hmm.
and building I mean Jolie with her PhD and I was like in the sidecar of her PhD work.
Sure.
I would talk with her about what she was
Yeah.
reading and her
Oh,
courses,
yeah.
and so I learned an awful lot. I don't have a
Oh, yeah.
PhD at all. but I did gather a lot of
Hmm.
information, and then she took that and she's been working on coming up with technologies and support for people to have better relationships. And along
Yeah.
the way, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my partner Cooper was along for the ride with me too in grad school, and so he always jokes that he he learned a lot too. Because every day you come home, you're like, "Well, I read this. What about that? Well, well,
Yeah.
whoa, about this." So yeah, the people along for the ride learn a lot through that process too.
Yeah. And not everybody does it that way. Not
Yeah.
not every not every relationship includes that overlap,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is it makes it can make the relationship kind of rocky because that level of work can really change somebody.
Oh yeah, I mean my partner Cooper, he's more in the native plant world, and so
Hmm.
when we cross paths, he's also an anarchist, so we talk, there's so much theory there. My other partner Rashid is actually in grad school actively for psychology, so then you're really crossing. Now we
Oh,
can
wow.
actually fight about theory. Wow, because it
Yeah.
just changes, so it's just funny depending on yeah, who your people are around you and the conversations you have. But I really appreciate getting this wider view to your journey because it's so rare for people to just it's I want to have hope for the younger generations that they're doing this, but to just wake up and be like, right, I'm polyamorous. I'm going to do this from the beginning and it's going to be great, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand the historical context as well as even the generational context between us, right?
Right.
Of what your upbringing was to what mine is to what even people that are younger than both of us they're getting to wake up
Absolutely.
into this in a whole different world. And granted, again, there's so much more to do. There's no way we're at all done, but there is progress that has been made across these
Yeah.
different generations. And so I appreciate naming the messiness of all of this. This wasn't just a wake up, great, I did it. Jealousy was gone and we were all super clear in our agree. Yeah, the laugh says a lot. That laugh says a lot, you know, of the
Yeah.
wisdom you had to learn along the way because there weren't books on this,
Nope.
the ethical slut in the 90s, but that's
Yeah. And
just scratching
Mating
it.
in Captivity was the other one. Like those are the two
Yeah,
that I
Esther.
remember being around. And yeah, there's so much more now. And
Mm-hmm.
and thanks to people like you and Jolie,
Mm.
more being developed all the time.
Such a
Thank you.
joy to share our mess and lessons with the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go back too, and you had spoken about your father being more reserved, right? I can imagine, and then your family dynamic not talking about these things. There's a lot of, as you mentioned, your dad being that like cultural norm of a father, right? That creates such a gendered example of how to handle emotions and
Yeah.
feelings. And so I think that's an important thing to slow down too, because when you get into having again, we all have multiple relationships. And when you bring more intentionality to that, the level of communication, awareness of your feelings, all of those things that you have to have is it's harder. It's way harder. This is way more complex. And so coming from a space where that wasn't modeled for you. I can imagine that too as a journey to even understand yourself and what was going on in that way.
There's another element that I should mention around that, which is so my father's parents were Scottish immigrants. So he
Mm,
was first generation Scottish, and growing up and watching how everybody else behaved and everything, I was like, wow, he's very Scottish, which is kind of a very stereotyping thing to say because I didn't really know any other Scottish people, but it's like, wow, this way he is, it's different from everybody else, and I guess that's Scottish. And then I grew up, and over the past really probably 5 years we've had a lot of discussions, Jolie and I, um, about neurodiversity. It's
mm,
like, oh, oh, okay. So he was autistic. Like he wasn't even just slightly, a little no, he had very clear sensory needs that were
mm,
mostly not met. And
mm,
he just there were things that in retrospect, as I learn more, I'm like, oh, okay. And I inherited some of that. Whether it's
mhm,
inherited, I don't know, but I know that as I see some of what he experienced in my own experience. I'm like, oh, okay. And so some of this were this feeling of being an outsider and not participating in groups. I am in these groups.
Mm,
I just don't think I am, huh? So
yeah.
there's things going on in my brain that I didn't even know about. And so that's a whole other aspect of life that enters in. Um, it's it's been a wake up call that one I'm still working on because I'm a weirdo. I like, and I say that because that whole thing about not fitting in, I definitely don't fit in. But then I think about everybody else. I'm like, does anybody?
No.
I mean, do we fit? And the thing is, we do when we work at it. When we say, hey, what are you like? What do you like? What do I like? What do you want to do together? And that's been what I've been working on. And my story sounds so monogamous, aside from the
Mm,
little drop-ins.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that has a lot to do with um, the practicality of it being so apparently monogamous. I mean, Jolie and I have we date, we go out, we've had many different kinds of group sex
Mm-hmm.
experiences, and that's just part of life. And I
Yeah.
don't think about it to mention it so much because it's kind of normalized.
Yep.
So when I describe my life, I describe kind of the high points. I also don't talk all that much about how much I like to go out and look at animal tracks or
Sure.
play the trombone. Like these are just the details of life that make up my life versus the story that other people might be interested in hearing,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that might be. But
Mm-hmm.
all that is to say that the practicalities of life over the past 25 years is as of being a parent and
Yeah.
raising children and the logistical constraints of that,
Mm-hmm.
particularly with 7 children,
Right.
uh, homeschooled at
Whoa.
various stages.
Wow.
Yeah, there's not as much opportunity to
Yep.
engage in to well in much of any kind of socializing outside the home of any
Yeah.
kind, and
Yeah.
that's shifting now.
Right.
Everybody's either in college or got jobs now, so it's a completely different world. A lot of them still live here, but it leaves me with well, I think we're entering into a new phase, and I'm not sure what it's going to
Yeah.
look like yet.
Yeah.
But first date season is going to be on us soon here because it's January now,
Mm-hmm.
and there's not much point in trying to find dating opportunities in New England in January
Mm.
or February. Maybe it'll start a little in March, and that's what first date
Sure.
season is around here.
I hear that. I
Um,
hear that. It's cold.
and now we have a different home life, so we'll
Mm-hmm.
see what this year brings.
Right. Yeah, I'm hearing you speak to a couple of different things, right? The limited nature of time and energy. Those are finite resources as much as love is so deeply abundant, right? And so, yeah, with 7 children, that's a different paradigm than one,
Yeah.
two, or no kids at all, right? And so
Yep.
those are all relationships in your garden that you're watering. And so, yeah, as you step into this chapter, as your kids are getting older and you're having more free time, right, you're able to expand now in ways that maybe this previous chapter didn't allow in that.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see how you navigate that and step into that. And it also reminds me of the ways in which the non-monogamous journey is so unique, right? It's not this monolith one-way storyline. It's truly so unique for each person that's in
Yeah.
it. And what I hear you speaking to is the ongoing consent of this model, right? It's not like you and Jolie are locked into this, like, this is what we're doing forever and it's only this. It's like, no, this
Right.
is this is a
Yep.
new chapter. Let's be here right now and
Yep.
ask ourselves, ask each other, ask our community, what do we want to create at this time? And so I think that sort of
Yeah.
evolution and connection to your pleasure is a really beautiful thing.
There's a really useful and tiny little skill that I find works
Mm,
really well for keeping connected with people that I've known a long time,
sure.
which is asking them questions I think I already know the answer to.
Mm,
And it can be hard to even remember what those questions are. We make these I mean, we get these mental maps in us of who someone is, and leaving that mental map room to shift and flow with the actual person can be kind of hard. But
Yeah.
every once in a while, Jolie will ask me, "So do you want to be monogamous?
Mm.
Let's find out." Because
Yeah.
um, the whole point is, what do we want our relationship to be right now? It doesn't have to be what it was. What
Right.
do you want it to be now? And what
Exactly.
we want it to be now doesn't have to be what we want it to be a year from now or
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that that level of flexibility, it can feel exhausting to some people.
Right.
Like, I mean, the my understanding of what I've read about the human brain is that we, our brains are designed to optimize. We come up with shortcuts to avoid doing a bunch of extra brain work. And one of those shortcuts is to assume we know. And that's why I say it can be exhausting to stop assuming that we know. It can be, but I've found that it's also um, it is a it gets better with exercise. The more I let myself let that be true, the more
Mm-hmm.
questions I ask, the easier it is to ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more pleasure because then you are
Yeah.
getting curious about your experience,
Yes. And I love
right?
curiosity. It's fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 All of our long-term relationships that we've been in, there's so much we start to assume that we know this person and where
Yeah.
they're going, right? Meanwhile, noticing for ourselves that we change, and every day we might be feeling a little different, but that
Right.
that lover over there, I know them,
Yeah.
like it's funny how we do that, right? Um, and yeah, it's so interesting as I was thinking about recording with you today, and you mentioned wanting to talk about the different systems of oppression and the ways that they create scripts. I know
Hmm.
I talked about my dissertation on your podcast,
Yep.
so much of the unconscious things that get inside of our psyche. When I first read about non-monogamy and decided I wanted to explore this, because it was more of a decision than a felt thing. I eventually felt into it, but it felt more of a logical decision based on the divorce rates, based on bed death in long-term relationships, based on the research and the history. And so as I was going through that, there was so much psychological unlearning of purity culture and all of the systems. And it was a constant journey, and it still is, of saying I'm going to align with my values despite the reactions I'm feeling in my body, despite the
Mm.
fear, the narratives, and the all of it that was coming up in my body, the stomach, all of it, and taking it slow exposure therapy with that. And what I realized in, a couple of years into it, I'm like, oh, cool, like I'm polyamorous myself. I have all these great connections. This is so great. I mentioned my partner Cooper. I'm over at his house, and his roommate also has a lover that comes over, and he's a father. And I'm like 3 years into my poly journey, and I'm seeing him, and my brain and my unconscious is going, how dare you do this as a man with kids? How dare you be here at this house doing this when you could be at home with your children? And I was
Hmm.
thinking to myself, like, what is that? Like, I am doing what? And that wasn't the first, I've had so many thoughts like that where there's like judgment and internalized
Yep.
homophobia, internalized mononormativity. And so I wanted to hold space to just talk about the journey of being a father too and holding this, because I
Hmm.
know in my past that I would be maybe even listening to this conversation now and being like, dang, Ken, how do you do that? Where I'm at now, I'm like, great, yeah, you're a loving father, like amazing, but I know the systems are so prevalent in terms of the storyline, the narratives of what it means to be a good man.
Yeah. Yeah. And boy, there's quite a few different scripts on how to be a good man
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
I've been involved in several different conversations where somebody at some point expresses something similar to what you were just saying you used to feel, which is, but who, the kids need to be taken care of, and you're off having these relationships, but the kids aren't, they're not getting you. And I think the most clearly I've ever heard it put was at some point somebody, and it was a man. He said, "Well, I have friends too."
Right.
Like, Yes, I have relationships with people other than my children, which, by the way, is very important to do.
Yeah,
I've not found it to be a real recipe for success to only have relationships with your children because they
exactly.
need to see fully formed humans around them, not not a limited, I mean, sure, developmentally appropriate filters along the way, but not pretending to be something else.
Hmm.
And we have on Playing with Fire, one of our kids agreed to come on and
Mm,
talk about what it was like to be a child
that's great.
in in this context.
Yeah,
And one person's perspective.
right.
And one of the other things that comes up is, okay, so for the people who are concerned that children might react uh, in some negative way to the experience of having polyamorous parents, what would those parents be if they weren't polyamorous? What kind of parents would they be? There's no way to know.
Yeah,
You're like, you don't have there's nothing to compare it to. These are just people being people. But if you have already a an internal mononormativity that, well, this is how it's supposed to be, then those things are going to sound like trouble, possible trouble. And so my experience with being a father and being polyamorous is that, first of all, our particular set of kids, nobody cared. They don't care what their parents are doing. What they would occasionally ask questions of, so we would bring someone home, which we didn't do all that much because we made a commitment early on because of how various things played out, not to fold anybody else into the children's lives
sure.
in any significant way
Yeah.
until they were older.
Hmm.
There were too many people who came and left.
Right.
And not poly had nothing to do with polyamory. There were people who would step into their lives and then just disappear. And some of them, not by their own choice, but that's not kids don't necessarily see the distinction.
Right.
So we were very careful about that and upfront about that with other people we were having relationships with. But it was a decision we made. And again, that era is over now. So now we're in a different situation.
Hmm.
But during the time, yeah, it very often was hard to think about relationships with other people because there were a lot of people to relate to right here.
Sure.
But we would anyway,
Hmm.
because, as I said before, getting too flooded within the family unit, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that's a good idea for
No.
anyone. I believe
No.
that the nuclear family needs to at least have strong connections
Right.
to external groups of whatever
Hmm.
kind. And that was hard to do with so many kids. But we did what we could, and the kids didn't really care if these were um, they didn't care what level of relationship we were having with these other people. And that's because this particular set of children were mostly not all that curious about it. Some kids probably would be,
Hmm.
others weren't.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I loved that direct line with the friendship piece. That's exactly what I
mhm.
was thinking because I think it highlights, as you said, we all need multiple relationships. The nuclear family is dangerous when it becomes a black hole of just
Yeah,
that right there. It's
yeah,
devastating for mental health when two people try to do that and they don't rely on family and friends and
yeah,
networks and people. That's regardless of monogamy or non-monogamy, right?
absolutely. Yep.
And so when you hold that of like, yeah, I hope the father of the children has these other connections, and then we bring in the non-monogamy side and we see the judgment, that's where I think that's why I'm so passionate about talking about sex because it's one of the stickiest areas of our human
Right?
consciousness, at
It
least in this
is.
current time. I'm looking back, maybe it wasn't always this, that whole like Christian colonization of the world thing really did a lot, a lot.
Really did. Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, and I dream of the worlds where it doesn't, but the reality is that's the sticking point for most of us
Yeah,
right there is how dare you explore your pleasure? How dare you do that with other people because it
yeah.
shatters so much of the vision. And so I appreciate the reality that you can do both and that you get to speak to that as an archetype and also lived experience of that being possible. And I know that, yeah, so many people I've talked to over the years have asked, like, oh, do we tell the kids? What do we tell them? When did you tell them? And how did that go?
So we started off, all of our children have known each other their whole lives. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, Jolie and I have been connected in a on a day-to-day basis, living down the road from each other since we started having kids. And so our children have known each other the
Mm,
whole time. So
yeah.
there was no moment of blending, but we did come together. I mean, there was a point at which my wife at the time and I, we sold our house and moved into Jolie's house. And now I will say right now that many mistakes were made. I mean, I've already said this, but when I talk about that in particular, yeah, I did not talk to the kids enough about what was happening. We just brought them along, moved them into a new house with people that they had good relationships with for the most part, and not talking about it definitely caused some big problems.
Yeah, I mean, look at your sex, right? Not talking about sex, another thing
Exactly.
of
I
shame.
mean,
Here we are.
this is that situation of unconsciously just repeating what
Yeah,
happened to me,
yeah.
which I feel pretty bad about.
Yeah,
Sorry, kids. That
yeah.
was a mistake. And there were conversations that were had off and on along the way, but that moment, that big moment of transition, that deserved something huge. A really big sit down ceremonial conversation about this is our new house, this is our new life, this is how things are now, and I didn't do it.
Mm,
So they had to figure it out for themselves. Yeah, yeah, definitely
mm,
screwed that one up because I know part of it was, well, this will just be normal. This will just
mm,
be how things are. And I think to some extent, for some of them, that was true.
right.
But I didn't take into account the larger context that they lived in. Again, that thing about the nuclear family. Well, it's fine because we're all here and it's all fine right here. We were not the end of their universe. There was
Right.
all these other people and messages and stories and TV shows and video games and all these other sources of input that were just going to not align well. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a big mistake.
Mm,
So that happened pretty quick. That would have happened around in 2010. And there was not as good enough conversation with them. And so from there, there were occasional check-ins to see how things were going. And they lived their lives, honestly. They, like I said, they weren't terribly curious combined with because I'll speak for myself because I didn't talk enough about it. It didn't feel like a topic of conversation, most likely
mm,
for them. And so they didn't bring it up themselves.
mm-hmm.
But along the way, when people would come in, now people would come to the house, but they would not be introduced as a, hey, here's a new person in the system. It's just
Yeah.
here's a visitor, here's a friend,
Mm,
here's and the kids are a spectrum of sociability. So some of them are like, well, hello, and the other ones are like, I think I'll go away now.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
way
7 kids, you got a spectrum there.
got a spectrum of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we did know that they understood that we were doing something different because one of the kids said in conversation with someone outside the house, the topic came up is like, hey, is this happening with what's going on with your parents? He said, oh no, it's okay because they have an agreement where they can cheat. It's like let's let's dive into that a little
Yeah,
further
yeah, yeah, yeah.
about what that means. But in the mononormative context,
Yeah,
there isn't another way to say it
right. I hear that.
because there is no other model in monogamous
Right.
standards other than cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So she said what she knew to be true, you know?
Right, right. Hall pass, right? That's what some people say.
Right, the
Oh,
hall
you get the
pass,
hall pass.
yeah,
Wow. Love being in school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it makes sense when you look back on that, right? Just to see the repeating patterns and also to have compassion for yourself because you are just navigating this completely novel new world and trying to be sensitive to it and it's a unique conversation to have, especially as like developmentally appropriate across different
yeah. Hmm.
ages, right? And depending where your kids were at, or other listeners who have kids and are thinking about that conversation of when to tell
Yeah.
them. I think
When to tell them and what to tell them, because then they're going to talk
exactly.
to other kids who
Yep.
talk to their parents, and
Yep.
it is a complicated question about exactly how to navigate that. And ultimately, you know, I've tried to come up with like, so what do you do?
Right.
How does one approach this situation? And there is no answer. It's who are you? Who are your kids? Who are their friends? Who do they interact with? Like you don't, so to some extent, there's a level of surrender. You don't know. So you have to pick a way that aligns with your values, which includes the values of, to whatever extent you think it's important to meld with other people's standards. Like these are personal choices, and you just have to take them into account and decide. And there is no right or wrong other than I, I think silence, complete silence
Right.
is wrong. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
But beyond that, yeah, the specifics are going to be very specific.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The when, the how, all of that.
And how different for different kids,
Yeah,
different for
yeah.
different children in the family, and
Sure. I could see that. Yeah, because I mean, it's again, when we think about the psychology of this, the reality is we are relational beings that tell stories about our lives. And when I say relational, the stories of what is possible or abnormal then is based on all the relationships we have to the people around us, to the culture, to the wider world. And so, yeah, each child will have their own narrative of what's been happening in the family and what is normal and all of that. And so each one can go through their individuation process of
right.
being devastated, thinking that's really cool, being completely whatever it is, it's going
Yeah.
to be unique for each child. So I
Yeah.
could see how the nuance of even that level across seven different children is a lot of emotional work to really attune to each one and take into all of that, all of those factors. And as you noted, right, when your child knows that, then they share with other kids and what gets told to the teacher and then comes back. And depending on the
Yeah.
context, how much privilege some of us have or don't have,
Yeah.
I love having a doctorate, right? That's a lot of protection in that of like, yeah, this is my doctoral studies. Okay,
Right.
versus someone losing a job, losing kids, losing
Hmm.
access because of the court systems and saying this is wrong and problematic and all of the things that we could talk about. And so, yeah, I appreciate the nuance that there's no right answer here, right? It's going to be unique for each person. And also being conscious that when we are quiet, we are saying something in that silence.
Yes. Yep.
So, like, yeah, safety under these systems, under that, and also what is your silence saying to your children, and then also what are they going to go through if you do never tell them out of all of these factors, but then they go through their life and walk into the same webs of pain
Yeah.
around
Hmm.
monogamy, right?
Right.
And thinking, well, my parents did it. Look, they're happy all the time. There's all the secrets that maybe they don't even know. Like that's also brutal for me to think about. Having this image of perfection that is really just going back to the Instagram, right? Like that's like an
Yeah.
Instagram flat model of relationships. And so I do think that silence is something to be curious about, as you noted.
Yeah. And the curiosity in my conversations with the kids when I've had them across all domains,
Mm-hmm.
my goal is usually to try to help them stretch their imagination
Yeah.
of what's possible. and I'm not saying I'm great at it by any means, but I've always felt comfortable with that as my starting point. Okay, what's going on here, and where? Well, what would I have wanted someone to tell me when I
Yeah.
was doing this thing at this age, and how has my imagination stretched over the past 10 or 15 years, and how can I help with that process now? And what I've found really interesting is, again, with the nuance, is not every individual is open to the same level of imagination stretching.
Yeah.
You know, they're not all
Yeah.
they're not all the same level of curious, and they're not all interested in having their imagination expanded. So sometimes you just piss them off.
Yeah.
I really, can we just be done with this and move on, because I don't really care about any of the things you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just about developmental appropriateness. It's also about what's caught their attention right now.
Sure.
Because, yeah, they might be developmentally ready for a conversation about, let's say, polyamory, but not interested in relationships. Like, that's not where my energy is right now. So they're like, let's not talk about that. They're just people.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, they are people, and it's
Mm.
complicated. And I can't meet them where they are because they're them and I'm me. But I can bring me to as close as I can get to where they are as I understand it, and then be wrong about where they are and then correct
Right.
myself. And
Right.
um yeah, but
Yeah.
it's exciting
Mm-hmm.
and fraught. There's a lot of things to trip over along the way.
Yeah.
But and it's true that I know one of the reasons early on that I was silent was because I didn't want to trip over anything.
Mm.
I have gotten over that. I would rather trip now
Yeah.
and
Trip and then
then
stand back up.
and stand back up and deal with the results because now something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm curious for you, we're speaking about the experience of your children. What were some of the narratives that you, for your own internal experience, right? I mean, in my journey, I felt like a slut and not in the hot way, right? All of that sort of stuff to kind of work through as you're enjoying pleasure with multiple people. I'm curious what sort of
Mm.
internal work that you've had to go through to be able to feel, to let go of shame and release shame and
Ooh.
feel really confident in your ability to access pleasure in all these different domains.
I will say that that's an ongoing
Yes,
process.
it is.
I have
Uh-huh.
made, I think, significant progress
Yeah.
in letting the my soft animal body love what it loves
Yeah.
without shame. So
Mm-hmm.
my process has been to try really hard to believe the people that tell me that I don't need to feel shame, that they don't
Mm.
feel ashamed of me, and to believe the things that I read and hear, all the messages that I take in that support that. I try really hard to believe those. And one of the reasons that's where I focus is because there are just as many, if not more, inputs telling me I'm right
Yeah.
to feel shame.
Yeah.
So I have to pick who I'm going to believe. And it's another one of those muscles. Once I've got practice, like, okay, I'm certain that I'm being the worst person in the world right now, and
Mm.
I'm never going to be loved,
Mm.
except that I have a list of people and resources and stories that are telling me that's not true. So I had to early on, I had to start taking the risk of believing that. And so
Yeah.
it was a risk. And I could take that risk because there were places I could go when everything crumbled. There were people I could talk to. I had developed some practices of self-care, and that was key
Mm-hmm.
because what I needed to do was to get myself to believe. It's so complicated. I had to get myself to believe that the feelings of shame, which were real, um, they weren't accurate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wouldn't even say I wouldn't say they were invalid. They were just inaccurate. I was having feelings that didn't align with my values, and I
Right.
knew enough other people agreed that I could kind of lean on that support of the idea of people who believed that I was not a shameful person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy,
No.
but I found that I'm a feeling type. I make most of my decisions and things based on feelings, and it's taken me a long time to figure out that that was even true.
Mm.
And the feelings of shame tend to overwhelm the work that I do to think about things.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
so when I'm in a conversation about shame, I'll be like, la la la, here's my ideas, here's my ideas. And then the compilation of feelings like knocks them out of the way.
Yeah.
And so I'll lose them. But it's the constant practice of getting knocked off balance and then rebalancing. Yep, I don't have to fall down. And even if I do fall down, I can stand up. It's what you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
need to stay down.
Yeah.
So shame is not the end of the story. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a chapter along the way. Well, this sucks. I do not like the way this feels right now. And as I have found before, all the other times that I felt this, it won't last. So just believing that lets me get to a point where I can start to reach out. Like I can believe that until I feel able to take action through the feeling, at which point I can start doing the things that I've learned to do for myself to support myself through the shame,
Mm-hmm.
and then reach out to other people to see if they can help too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Such a good description of the dance between the self and the self in relation, the
Mhm.
interdependence that we have. You know, the field of psychology can be so hyper individualistic. Here's the DSM disorder for your problem, you, not the
Right.
systems, all of that. And the lens that I was trained in relational cultural theory would say that it's a very feminist orientation, examining power structures and all of that. And it would say that there's only ever the self dash in dash relation, right? And that our reality is again created by the relationships that we have. And so sometimes I speak about that as mirrors, right? Relationships are both mirrors. You see yourself and their windows. So it's not just the seeing
Yeah.
yourself, right? You get to see into somebody else too. But when you have to be really conscious of the mirrors that you have in your life because it will make who you are. And I know
Oh
there's that always
yeah.
that cheesy like the 5 people you surround yourself with. And it's true from everything we know about relational psychology.
Yeah.
This creates your reality. And so
Hmm.
if you come to somebody, you know, and you say like, "Hey, I have this really beautiful scene I want to do with 4 of my partners and this la 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 la," and they go, "Oh God, that's so gross." That's when our evolutionary drives kick in and say, "Oh God, I'm going to be kicked out of the oh my God," even if we're not
Exactly.
thinking
Yeah.
on that level, right? It's like our
Yep.
bodies go, "Oh shit, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this because I need to be accepted."
Right.
And so then those are the moments where if you have a strong community of other people, maybe you go, okay, cool, that's not for you. Great. Like I have all these friends over here that like absolutely are on board and are ready to watch and support and whatever
Yeah.
that is. And so it's like our resilience comes from the connections that we have in community. And there's so much internal work that you're speaking to, right? It's like you can have all of those good mirrors going on, all of that, right? And also, there's a moment inside your own psyche where you
Yes.
need to get conscious about those internalized mononormativity, internalized whatever systems are there, and recognize that that first reaction you're having is not necessarily a reflection of you as much as the systems that you're in. And then that's where that
Right.
cognitive work is. Okay, I see that
Yeah.
thought, I recognize where it's coming from. I'm scanning my body. I notice that I'm feeling kind of like nauseous. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to do some deep breaths. I'm going to
Yep.
allow that thought to pass. And I'm going to go journal. I'm going to go connect with other people. And I'm going to keep going down this journey, right? That moment, like I had mentioned, of the father who is polyamorous and all of that judgment. Luckily, I'd had enough stretching points, definitely coming from purity culture and discovering the queerness, discovering all of this sort of parts to realize those first moments of tears or judgment or shame are not things I should be listening to, which is
Mm.
complicated when our society says romance. Listen to your feelings. Listen to your feelings. Listen to all your feelings. If I listened to all my feelings, I would not be here practicing polyamory in any
Right.
capacity. Like
Yeah.
any capacity.
And the message is listen to all your feelings, and also all your feelings should be right. They
Exactly.
should fit into this bucket of what is acceptable. So as
Mm-hmm.
long as all of your feelings are right here in this container, definitely follow all your feelings. Oh, by the way, everything outside that container, yeah, you shouldn't be feeling those things. And we get back to the shame and the isolation and the exile. And then there's the fact that I liked how you described it. Yeah, you've got all this community around you, and now in this moment, all of a sudden you're feeling like the community is going to kick you out,
Mm.
and you're going to freeze and starve to death because that's
Yep.
what used to happen when you were isolated
Yep.
or eaten by a bear or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then, because we are complicated and magical people, we can decide to kick ourselves out. We
Yeah.
can decide to be the one who says, "You can't be part of this community anymore." The
Mm-hmm.
rest of the community is like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah, exactly.
"Oh, I
Yeah.
can't possibly be here. You can't
Yeah.
accept me. Come back."
Yeah.
No. Yeah, the
Yeah.
things we do to ourselves. And you described, yeah, that somatic response to whatever the input was, and it could be completely innocent from everybody else's point of view, but it's your brain, it's your life experience that gets pinged, and now you're all dysregulated, and that's the other thing that Jolie and I teach is neurosomatic intelligence. Okay, time to regulate the nervous system through this moment of absolute primal existential terror.
Yep.
Well, that's actually just a part of your brain saying you're not safe.
Yep.
Are you safe? And there's a collection of tools that we can use, very, very simple tools that can help us let the body relax about the fear. And then we can start thinking and feeling our way through it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you
Mm-hmm.
said, those first moments, not the time to be making
No.
relational decisions.
No, we're not even in the
Yeah,
right part of our brain anymore.
not
We're
at all.
in the
Yep.
amygdala, right? It's like we can't,
Yeah.
the prefrontal cortex has gone offline, folks, which is
Hmm.
where we make our executive, rational,
Yep.
logical choices, right? And so, yeah, the somatics are always where to drop in first, as much as my stubborn brain tries to say otherwise sometimes. Every day that's a humbling journey. I get activated. I'm like, no, this is how I feel. I feel this way. And, if you haven't had that moment in non-monogamy where you go, what the fuck am I doing? How did I get here? I don't want to
Whose
do this
idea
anymore.
was
Yeah,
this?
this.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Then you
This
have
was
it.
dumb.
Totally, totally. That's like such, and like those are the moments where if we stick to the cognitive, we'll be like, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
Not even taking a moment to be like, how do I actually feel my body? I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually really activated.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the night that you take, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you're like, wait, but actually polyamory is really great. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm so sorry, partner, that I got,
Yeah.
I want to apologize, couples therapist, like, oh my God, so that's just such a part of it. And one of my favorite questions or things to add to this is just like, whoever said unlearning systems of oppression was going to be easy?
Yeah. Hmm. It's it's a rewiring at a fundamental level, and you can't just decide. It's not a decision you can make. These are
No.
changes that have to build up over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
because systems of oppression are just that. They are systems, they are patterns. And you can't change a pattern in a moment. You can only change it by establishing new patterns that don't match the old one. And that
Mm-hmm.
takes time. It
Yep.
takes a constant set of choosing not to do, again, like I was saying at the beginning, that shortcut. My brain has already said, this is the way through this. And you have to interrupt that and say, wait, no, that path goes the way it's always gone, and I need to go a new way. So I need to stop, whatever that means for me, and make a new decision. And then, well, which one? What's the right way to go if not the way I've always gone? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. There's a million ways. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard.
It is hard.
And so we help each other.
Yeah.
That's how we make it easier.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, we sit with each other when we're activated
Yeah.
and we're there, and then we stand up together. And I've found it so incredibly rewarding. I think this is the point where someone might say, "Well, then why do you do all this? Like,
Yeah.
why do you keep stretching yourself?" And it's like, even in yoga too, like I teach yoga, it's uncomfortable. Like
Hmm.
again, and usually what I'm talking about this with when I'm talking about non-monogamy with my clients, it's like, or any form of stretching, right? There's that space where there's that bit of discomfort because you're stretching the muscle, and then there's a zone where you're actually tearing the muscle. And we don't want to get to
Right.
that ideally, right? Sometimes your partner cheats, things happen. Wow, okay. But ideally, we want to go in that space where we can just stretch a little bit, sit in that discomfort, and then keep going, keep going. Many years ago, I couldn't even touch my toes. Now my hands are flat on the ground, right? The same thing. And the saying in yoga is practice and all is coming, right? So I like to think about
Hmm.
that in other ways too, right? You keep practicing this. There'll be a day where you wake up in your non-monogamous journey and some things that you could have never even dreamed of are just alive and flourishing in ways. And of
Right.
course, yes, there's always still more to go. What a humbling journey that we'll walk to the end of our lives still going, dang, that was that system there. There was that box that I was holding myself in. So it's always going. But like when you look back, you're like, damn, okay, I have crossed some mountains here.
Yeah.
Like I have actually done a lot that I should be grateful for. And at least for myself, gosh, just the levels of insight through all of that, walking through fire, playing with fire, walking through fire, the levels
Yeah.
of insight into my desire, my somatic experience, the systems. Oh, like I wouldn't change that level of presence for anything. Like I'm so grateful to have this space now where I get to create my reality and co-create it with my community in loving ways. Like yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Like, again, so much work. What is the pleasure that you get to experience on the other side?
For me, the pleasure is the constant discovery.
Yeah,
Okay. I have a couple different answers to this. The
great.
first one is
Let's do
the
it.
constant discovery, the repeated discovery that I am someone I like after all.
Beautiful, Ken.
That I'm not
Yeah.
someone who's stuck, who um agency.
Yeah.
So yes, I am someone who lives more closely aligned with my values. That feels good. And this isn't a value I learned. Polyamory and non-monogamy is not a value that I learned, but one that I appear to have come with, but have not lived into all the time. And now I do all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That feels good. That feels there's a dissonance and a you mentioned, yoga and stretching past the point of safety. Despite my non-monogamy, I would live according to monogamous principles, and that was a stretching, a constant stretch, which was never going to ease unless I changed my values. I decided not to change my values, but to change my actions. And that eliminated a source of pain for me, introduced others, but
Sure.
did it? But are they others? Because it's not like my monogamous relationships had no hiccups.
Right.
Like, no, wait a minute. I have this monogamous pathway, this monogamous history to look at, monogamous behaving, and then I have this non-monogamous. And I look at both of them, it's like, yeah, about the same density of trouble for both of them, for me. Now, because I've brought myself in closer relation to myself, some of those troubles I feel more intensely than I used to. I
Yeah.
also feel like that's a win,
Yes, it is.
particularly again as a white man, trained to ignore all of my feelings, which why? So that the system can use me for whatever the fuck it wants, no matter what I think or feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to play that part anymore.
Yeah.
So, and this is one of the reasons people will stay in this particular box is it's going to hurt to step out
Yes, it does.
because that's all the hurt we haven't been feeling.
Yep. Yep.
It sucks and is
Yes.
better than the alternative. Again, living in alignment with my values instead of in alignment with someone else's ideas of what my
Hmm.
values should be. So I feel better about that. And there is more sex, which I like very much. I mean,
Yes.
it's not, I'm not going to leave that off the list.
Yes.
Um, and every time I have sex in some unorthodox way, it is healing my shame wound.
Hmm.
It's an opportunity, I should say, to heal my shame wound. And I try to use them as best I can for that. And so it's healing is why. And does it hurt sometimes? Yeah,
Yeah.
healing often does. I mean, I can, okay, so if I sprain my ankle, if I walk on it, it's going to hurt and it's not going to heal as fast, but I'll know exactly what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, if that doesn't drive us.
Yeah. Safety.
And I say that as a I'm going to say that as a we statement, not an I statement. I see it all over the place.
Yeah.
Foiled expectations are painful. Okay, so but healing involves an aspect of pain because it requires you to be present to the wound.
Yep.
And so it's going to
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
where I was trying to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me in my psychedelic assisted psychotherapy training, we would always talk about how we can think about healing like a splinter, right? We have the splinter in our finger and we see it's throbbing and we start to go pull it out and it's like, oh gosh, that hurts. Okay, I'm actually gonna just push it back down. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then the splinter just continues to fester. And anytime
Yeah.
you put the finger down on something that hits that topic, you're gonna feel it, but it's a little bit easier than actually trying to pull out the splinter, or rip the band-aid off quickly, right? All of that. Similar
Yeah.
metaphor to the ankle, right? And what's the devil you know is better than the one you don't, sort of.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, that's deep human conditioning stuff. Change is incredibly, incredibly scary. Although staying the same and stagnancy is also incredibly scary. I want to say for
Yes,
myself, that
it
is
is.
terrifying. And so then that's the moment where you have to decide, am I going to stay the same or will I hop into the water, right? I always talk about non-monogamy as swimming, a metaphor, because it's like, Ken, I wrote that dissertation. I was reading all of the books and I read all the books essentially on swimming. I was like, here's my dissertation on swimming. And then the second you get in the water, let me tell
Oh,
you, that's actually a very different
yeah.
experience
Yep.
than swimming.
Yes. Yeah, that is accurate.
Yeah, because of all the things we're speaking to. Again, like, when I first got into field of psychology, I was so against the unconscious, with Dr. Jolie and the Jungian perspective, I'm sure you're so rich in it. Like at first I was like, no, there's no magical puppet controlling me. Absolutely not. My existential professors are in my head and saying like, no, we're not there. But the reality is like, we are embodied beings with epigenetics and relational things in our nervous system around safety that has been here for evolutionary reasons. And like, if we don't acknowledge that all of that is present, we're missing a huge part of this because,
Hmm.
yeah, when you put your body in the water, you actually have to know embodied how to swim. And that is not just an intellectual process.
Yeah.
And non monogamy is the same in that way, right? Like you can know structurally, but until you have felt that moment of if I tell my children, if I tell this person, if I say this on a podcast, will I be hated from the world? Like,
Yeah. Right.
oof,
Yeah.
you don't know until you've crossed that fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting the podcast and starting to just put all my stories out there.
Yeah.
Early on, I think I managed it mostly by not thinking about it. I'm just
Sure.
sitting in a room with Jolie and we're just
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
And then I'm just never going to think about it. I'm just going to let that. I would even process the audio and stuff, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't listen
totally.
to it.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we're just pushing
We're
this
just
out
editing.
and I'm
Yep.
not going to worry about what happens over there. Um, and that got me through the beginning of it. But now, okay, so I love that we're talking now, and then I talk with Jolie and the other people that I've talked to. I love that we're talking about things that a bunch of people don't.
Yep.
because it is all the things that I I wish someone had talked to me about. I wish someone had shown me that it was okay to say what was going on inside of me. And so for me, that's what the podcast is just constantly showing everybody, yes, say what's happening. Don't
Mm-hmm.
worry. Like I know there's nuance to that as well because there are when we talk about coming out as um, as non-monogamous, and yeah, not everybody is safe to do that
Right.
for multitude of reasons,
Mm-hmm.
running from systemic to the personal
Mm-hmm.
about people's individual contexts, and you have to take that into account. But once you've taken that into account, say everything that works for you. Don't hide, don't hold it in, and ideally find people that will listen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They exist. The people are out there, and I'm really grateful that you get to speak to that as a living example of it being possible, and more than even just possible, truly pleasurable.
Yeah. So that is another reason that I do this, is so that I can have these conversations. Because it does, it
Mm-hmm.
feels good.
Yeah. I want to ask a question too that I've loved exploring on the podcast, which is
Okay.
if you were to go back to your younger self, what words of wisdom, advice would you share?
Say everything. I'm
Mm-hmm.
safe. I have been safe the whole time. Were people going to be mad at me sometimes? Sure. Were they anyway? Yeah. Say all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would say everything and don't pretend not to care. Those are the
Yeah.
two things I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. On the podcast, I always talk about how we cry hard and we come hard,
Yes. Yep.
right? Because you can't pick and choose what emotions you feel.
Yep.
And that's why I find the work to be so political in that when you want to feel more pleasure, that means you're also going to feel more of the pain of the world. So, welcome to
Yeah.
that. Welcome
Yep.
to that, right? So, yes, share that you care. And my favorite part about making this show is that all of the people that come on get to be a testament to how many people are out there in the world doing this, you know?
Yeah.
So I always love to invite
Exactly.
the listeners to trust that because your words of wisdom rippled through their bodies and their ears as they just heard that. And I know there's someone who's feeling that spark of like, I'm going to go say the thing now that I've been holding back.
Yes.
And I want to even
Yes.
encourage that further of like, there are people that will love you for that. And, you
Yes,
know, I
there
hope this,
are.
yes, the show can be proof of that. You can be proof of that. Your community, it's just, like it's hard in the moment. Like, where will I find these people? But you will through
You
time.
will. And I want to say to those people that this isn't a willpower thing. This isn't a just decide and do it. Yes, you can do that. There will be a point where you just have to decide. But the more skills you develop in responding to what happens next, the easier it is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not like practical skills necessarily. It's the skills to be the person who just said that thing. And that's a practice. What I mean when I say it's not simply willpower and a decision is it's practice. It's small movements constantly or consistently anyway. It doesn't have to be constant, but repeated small movements toward speaking,
Mm-hmm.
toward feeling.
Yeah.
We have a hero myth deep through our culture that the world will be solved by an act that saves everything. There are things that can be solved by an act. They're very few and far between. Most
Mm-hmm.
things are solved by the consistent acts of groups of people.
Yeah.
And I'm still adjusting to that because I have all of the stories that I've been fed my whole life. And every once in a while, I'll look and notice, oh, I'm acting like there's just this one thing to do.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of, no, I say, I feel a little uncomfortable right now. Just that.
Yep.
What kind of uncomfortable? I don't know. I just feel kind of weird. Good. Start there.
Yeah.
Or that was a little bit of an ouch. Was it? Why? I don't know. I don't need to know. I'm
Yeah.
just And just being present in these small ways consistently will slowly build the resilience and the skill of doing it in bigger ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your first solo podcast. We
We did
did
it.
it.
We did it. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was you. You're so good to talk
Oh,
to, and
honored.
you really helped me be present. So thank you.
Yeah, good. It's such a joy to share your story with all of the listeners. So thank you. Thank
Thank you. If
you.
we do this again, I'll ask you more questions.
Yeah, totally. I hear you. I hear you. All right, Ken. Well, as we come towards the end of our time, I'm going to take a deep breath with you again.
Hmm.
And I'll check in and see if there's anything else you want to share with the listeners. Otherwise, I have one last closing question.
No, I think I've shared all the things.
Good, good. I love that. Okay. So the last closing question that I ask everyone on the show is, what is one thing that you wish other people knew was more normal?
It's a good one. Crying out loud.
Mm,
Crying when it's time to cry.
yeah.
Crying at movies. Crying at
Mm,
commercials. Crying at
yeah.
whatever moves you. Go
Yeah.
ahead and cry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
about you?
Oh gosh, there it is. There's the question, right? What would I normalize? Oh dear. In this current moment
hmm
or about crying?
No, in this current moment, what would you
Oh,
uh
okay. Feeling fucked up. I mean, feeling completely fucked
yes.
up by these systems. I mean, again, as
Yes.
when this comes out
Yes.
in August, I'm hoping it's a better world, and I'm always trying to be
Hoping.
optimistic, but
Yep.
realistically with the things happening now in January, like feeling utterly
Yeah.
nauseous and just
Yep.
completely disgusted and terrified and scared and all of those things all at the same time. Um it makes a lot of sense. Struggling to have sex in this current time, again, it's
Exactly.
so our bodies are so sensitive to the world around us when the world is actively on fire. To not want to have sex, it makes sense. It's not the time to play, you
It's
know?
not, it's really hard to be the level of vulnerable in this world right now that would lead to sex. Absolutely.
Yep.
And hopefully that's better in August.
I
But
hope so.
even if it is, all the other ways that, yeah, you get to be fucked up if you feel fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
It's normal. We all
Yep.
are.
Yep. Yep. And we're in it together. That's the beauty of that too. Of like you're not
Yes.
alone in that, right? So, like you said, share your things. Tell the people around you, like, this is what I'm going through. Most likely they're going to say something similar, right? And then we can all feel that seenness,
Right.
to know that you're not alone. Again, isolation is such a big cause of human suffering. And so when you can find other people who share the identities or share the suffering and the pain, that's when we feel that seenness and that relief and a bit of grounding in our bodies to know we're not the only one moving through that. So yeah, cry with everything going on and cry
Yes.
together.
And cry together. Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, Ken, it was such a joy to have you on the show for today.
Nicole, thank you so much. This has
Yeah.
been wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everyone would love to know more about the year of opening and
Ah,
playing with
yes.
fire. Where can they connect with all of your
Yeah,
resources?
it's all at joliehamilton.com, and the year of opening is it has a few cohorts starting throughout the year. Let's see, this is August, then there'll be one starting in September, so there could be room in that, and then there'll be more starting come January. And you can get, yeah, the joliehamilton.com is the place for that. But also, we've been talking about individuation a little bit and about learning to be ourselves and live with ourselves. Jolie has built up a program of inner alchemy, which runs once, maybe twice a year, but in a window. And so that would be starting if we do the same schedule next year in 27, it'll start in March. That you can take a look at that on her website as well. And there's a podcast to listen to, short, just like what is it? I don't know, maybe 45 minutes worth of listening broken up into pieces that walks through it. And it is If you're looking to become more of who you are, that's what that's for. Year of Opening is for leaning into your relationships. And I'm involved in both of those, and also on the Playing with Fire podcast, which we love to hear people reaching back toward us out of that
Yeah.
podcast. So please do. And yeah, that's what we're up to right now.
And I've learned so much from Jolie being one of my
Oh,
mentors,
yes.
which I'm so grateful for, and so highly want to recommend all of the work that the two of you do. And again, dear listener,
Thank
it will be
you.
linked in all the show notes below, so you can just go find all of that content. And again, learn those skills for swimming. Learning those skills for
Yes,
swimming.
exactly.
Thank you again, Ken, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Dear listener, thank you so much for tuning in to Modern Anarchy. Thank you for sharing this episode with your friends, with your lovers, with your community. Truly, it means so much to me, and I am so grateful that you are here. If you are wanting to release jealousy in your non-monogamous dynamics and step into compersion and pleasure-filled connection, you can read my book, The Psychedelic Jealousy Guide, for free on my website. There you will also find so many other free resources, including worksheets on how to clearly communicate and set commitments and boundaries within your non-monogamous dynamics, and other ways to practice clear communication about your sexual desires so that you can step into your most pleasure-filled sex and relationships. So head on over to modernanarchypodcast.com to find all of those free resources, and I look forward to seeing you next week.